Make up mind. Fight.
You know, Pokemon has really been leaning hard into the whole these wild creatures with incredible abilities sometimes attack humans shtick for the past few years, between stuff like Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, and the upcoming Legends ZA. And while most people in the Pokemon world would probably have either a partner Pokemon of their own by their side to help fend off any would-be predators, or would just be prepared in that situation, you really gotta wonder what happens if you're either caught out with all of your mons KO'd, or just so happen to be without one at any given moment. That's where you gotta fend for yourself. And in this video, I want to discuss just that. How capable could a regular, normal person be at defending themselves from an attack caused by a Pokemon? Moreover, how capable could a regular, normal person be at battling a Pokemon at their own level? How many Pokemon moves could a normal, everyday human learn? If me or you or some other regular Joe Schmo was isekai'd into the Pokemon world, how many attacks could we perform? We're gonna try and figure that out. Before we begin though, I'd be remiss not to mention that this video was directly inspired by a joke made by my fellow YouTube gamer and lovely mutual Big Yellow in their video about RBY Magneton.
And then there's that move pool, which, minus the banned double team and the useless teleport, consists of a whopping 20 moves, which is a little embarrassing. I could probably learn 20 moves even.
I asked them personally if I could make this video, and they said yes, which was very cool of them. Go check out Big Yellow's content if you're into fighting games, Pokemon, Worms 3D, or just wonderful vibes in general. Back to the matter at hand though, we're going to be discussing every individual Pokemon type and finding every move within each that I feel that a regular old fella could learn. For our purposes, we're going to be imagining that our test subject is a perfectly average, run-of-the-mill human with no specialty training, no supernatural abilities, and no equipment. It's easy to say that a person could use Flamethrower if they had a Flamethrower, or could use Brick Break if they were a martial arts champion, or could use Extreme Speed if they were like Usain Bolt or something. But for what we're doing here, imagine that our person just has their instincts and the clothes on their back. Or not, if you're freaky. All that said, let's dive in. So, starting us off is physical normal type attacks, which, spoiler alert, will be the most robust category in this entire video. A normal, ordinary person could theoretically learn any Pokemon move that's entire effect is simply striking the opponent with an extremity, which, as far as normal type moves go, covers Pound, Stomp, Slam, Scratch, Return, Rage, Headbutt, Double Slap, Double Hit, Covet, Dizzy Punch, Frustration, Body Slam, Tackle, and maybe Comet Punch. These are all of the damage-dealing normal physical moves in the game that, for all intents and purposes, are just variations of normal physical strikes. Shoutouts to Flail as well, which would be my attack of choice. Any attack that involves using an extremity or body part that humans don't have is obviously off limits, so stuff like Wrap, Tail Smack, Super or Hyper Fang, Head Charge, Fury Attack, Constrict, Horn Attack, or Bind are out of the question. Additionally, any move that specifically requires claws or a quote razor sharp type of extremity are also out. While a human can and could theoretically scratch someone using their nails, I have to draw the line at using moves like Crush Claw, False Swipe, Fury Swipes, Guillotine, or anything like that. I'm also counting out any moves that require specific techniques or learned combat finesse, like Chip Away, Endeavor, Fake Out, Hold Back, Quick Attack, Extreme Speed, Rapid Spin, Retaliate, Rock Climb, Skull Bash, Smelling Salts, or Vice Grip. Another category of damaging physical normal type moves that would be off limits is moves that require specific abilities which humans don't have. A human can't just up and explode on their own merits, so things like Self-Destruct or Explosion are obviously off the table. Additionally, things like Spike Cannon, Barrage, Swift, Secret and Nature Power, Payday, even if it would be really nice, and Egg Bomb are impossible without outside help. Lastly, for this category, any move that requires the user exert extreme or superhuman physical strength is theoretically possible depending on the person, but we're gonna go ahead and assume it's out of the realm of possibility for most ordinary people. This covers things like Strength, Giga Impact, Mega Punch, Mega Kick, maybe Takedown, and so on. You could probably do these things once in the moment, but likely only once. That covers all of our damage-dealing physical normal moves, and the reason I went over them first is because they set a good baseline for what we can expect going forward in this video. A normal person with no training or equipment is capable of, at the very least, striking enemies with their arms, legs, and head, and throwing their physical weight around, but not much else. We are counting out anything that requires extreme physical strength, specific trained combat techniques, supernatural abilities, or anything that requires using a body part or equipment that humans don't have naturally. properly. All that said, and with all these ground rules laid, for the rest of this video, I want to focus on what moves me and you actually could learn, instead of dumping on our hopes and dreams of Pokemon battling over and over again. Let's see how we would fare in the Pokemon League. As far as special normal moves go, there are a few that I think are legitimately possible. Echoed Voice and Hyper Voice are pretty much just variations of yelling really loud, and Snore is something that I do every night. Uproar and Ring Out are more up in the air, as their descriptions are pretty intentionally vague, but screw it, I've seen some public freakouts. I know what a person can do in an Uproar, and as for Ring Out, we can do it with Washcloth, so nothing's stopping us from doing it to a Pokemon's arm as well. Lastly, Spit Up is something that my baby niece does every day. But considering that Pokemon's version requires multiple turns of stockpiling beforehand, we're gonna count this one out. Lastly, for normal is status moves, another category that's gonna be surprisingly hefty for this video. A lot of these are just like basic social acts and actions that humans can perform multiple times a day, every day, given new context as Pokemon moves. The complete list is After You, Bestow, Block, Celebrate, Confide, Encore, Follow Me, Glare, Growl, Helping Hand, Hold Hands, Howl, Leer, Lovely Kiss, Me First, Mean Look, Play Nice, Recycle, Scary Face, Screech, Sing, Slack Off, Sleep Talk, Swagger, Swallow, Work Up, and Yawn, and these are all just words and terms in the Oxford Dictionary that any normal person theoretically does multiple times a day, every day. Shoutouts to Attract and Captivate as well, which I know some people think aren't possible for every ordinary person, but I'd say you're just not trying hard enough. So yeah, normal type was unsurprisingly our most jam-packed type for this video about normal people, and for the rest of the video, we can expect things to speed up considerably. Let's move on to what's likely to be our second most learnable type, being Fighting. Fighting as a type for this video is purely defined by its moves being technically possible to perform versus being able to perform them well. For instance, there's no reason that a regular person can't use Arm Thrust or Cross Chop, but there's also no chance that they'd be nearly as effective in a regular person's hands as they would be in a martial arts professional's hands. It's like, just because you can throw a kick doesn't mean you're Bruce Lee. For this reason, I'm gonna count a good number of fighting type moves as theoretically possible, just not very effective in the hands of a regular untrained person. Starting with physical moves, a regular Joe Schmo should have no issue using Arm Thrust, Cross Chop, High Jump Kick, Regular Jump Kick, Karate Chop, Low Kick, Low Sweep, and Wake Up Slap. Anything else that you feel I may have forgotten, I chalked up to simply being too specialized or advanced for a normal untrained person to pull off. You can try Sky Uppercut or Circle Throw or Flying Press in an actual fight, but if you do, let me know how it goes. The moves I chose to count are ones that require the least physical investment or in-depth martial arts knowledge, basically just being swing and pray type moves. Additionally, there is not a single special fighting type attack that a regular person could perform. I know a lot of people believe in Aura and all that, and I totally understand and support it if you do, but we don't often see people throwing Aura Spheres or using Focus Blasts in real life. As for status fighting type moves, I feel as though Coaching and maybe Victory Dance are entirely within the realm of possibility. On to our next type. The reason I'm choosing to talk about Dark type next is because it's strangely enough our last type where a good number of its moves are just basic human actions given a Pokemon flair. From the top, I feel as though a regular person could most definitely learn Bite, Crunch, Feint Attack, Fling, Beat Up, Pursuit, Sucker Punch, Thief, and rather hilariously, Throat Chop. Most of these are just extremely basic combat actions given the Dark typing. Biting someone, throwing something nearby at someone, ganging up on someone with the boys, etc. I also want to give special mention to Darkest Lariat and Brutal Swing, two things that theoretically anyone can do, yet like a lot of fighting type moves, would be done a lot better by a trained professional. As for special Dark type moves, the only one that I could realistically see me or you performing is Snarl. It's a playground favorite of Warrior Cat roleplayers everywhere. As for Dark type status moves, we're gonna count Flatter, Taunt, Torment, Fake Tears, which would probably be my signature move, and if you really need to, Memento. This is the move where a Pokemon KOs itself to lower an enemy's attack stats, and listen, if things are really grim, this is always an option in battle. It's dark, but that's the name of the type for a reason. For the rest of this video, we're going to be going in alphabetical order, type by type, as the number of learnable moves per each one is going to drastic go down from here on. Let's start with the bug type. The only three bug type attacks that I feel a regular person could learn from my findings are First Impression, Pounce, and Lunge. There's nothing stopping you from sucker punching someone and running away in a fight, nor jumping on them when they least expect it for Pounce and Lunge. I think there's an antiquated term for that. Let's move on. Dragon doesn't really have any concrete moves that I feel a regular person could decisively learn, but I do want to give special mention to Dragon Breath and Dual Chop. My dad always said I had Dragon Breath as a kid because I ate a lot of Funyuns and barely brushed my teeth when I was little. I got better. So if you want to count particularly bad dental hygiene as a move, we can consider this. And Dual Chop is just referred to in-game as, quote, 2 brutal strikes, which a strong enough person could perform no problem. The old stinking strike, that's what we'll call it. Okay, being totally serious, I did not want this video to turn out this way. But I guess, theoretically, a normal person could learn Nuzzle at the most basic literal sense of the move's function. The actual Pokemon move explicitly mentions Amon nuzzling its electric cheeks against an opponent to induce paralysis, and while we humans don't have electric stored in our faces, we could still theoretically... Nah, screw it. Electric has no moves. I expected Fairy to be a repeat of the nonsense we just did, but it's surprisingly not that bad. For a type whose moves are mostly composed of magic and flower-adjacent abilities, there are exactly 4 Fairy-type moves that I feel a regular person could learn. Those are Charm, self-explanatory, Baby Doll Eyes, which would really depend on your physical appearance, but is still totally possible, Play Rough, which could mean a whole lot of things, but we're just going to assume it means beating someone up cutely, and Sweet Kiss, which is just a whole hog repeat of the Lovely Kiss move from the normal type section. You don't kiss your homies goodnight, brother? So, Fire is actually our first type in this video that doesn't have a single move that a regular person could learn. But I do want to mention that researching this video is how I found out that there's now a move called Mind Blown that involves a Pokemon fully blowing its own head up. And I was like, what could that possibly mean? Until I realized that it was just a signature move of the Clown Ultra Beast. Man. Flying is another type with very, very few learnable moves. It's almost like humans very famously cannot fly. But I do want to give a special mention to Chatter, a move so usable by humans that Game Freak had to ban the Pokemon who had it from online play in the DS era. Possibly the most that humans using Pokemon moves has ever affected an actual game. Ghost, quite shockingly, has 4 whole moves that are completely usable by a regular human. Looks like we can look forward to death after all. You could learn Astonish, which is just described as attacking while yelling. It's basically a jump scare move. Lick, which the less said about the better. Spite, which is the ultimate motivator in real life. Why do you think I keep posting videos? And adorably, Trick or Treat, which is just described in game as the user taking the target trick-or-treating. That's so cute, just ending the battle to treat your opponent to a nice childhood Halloween tradition. I also want to mention Curse, which is either usable or not usable depending on how much you prescribe to the occult. Someone should decurse Germa, by the way.
I don't want any curses. No curses. Somebody decurse me.
Grass has one theoretically learnable move that even then would require at least a bit of practice or knowledge to get right. Grass Whistle, a move that sees the user playing a soothing melody on a blade of grass to put the enemy to sleep, is hypothetically possible in any area with rich grass, but I don't know how to play a tune on a blade of grass, so your mileage may vary. This is a technicality for the video. Ground and its associated learnability depend heavily on how much you want to allow outside interference in this discussion. I know we said at the top that we wouldn't be allowing external weapons or equipment, but if you count the land beneath your feet as an exception to that, then a regular person could easily perform things like Sand Attack, Mud Slap, and any other move that simply throw dirt at your opponent's face. We saw Dale do it, and we know how effective that was, so I'm open to allowing this. Regular humans cannot perform cryomancy, and by that logic, ice has no usable moves. You know what they say, ice is nice, but fire is drier. I'm sorry, I keep making random unrelated references to other things in this video. This video was incredibly difficult to script in a way that wasn't just listing attacks, especially in the second half, so I hope y'all enjoy either way. I'm sorry. Poison was a type that I was so tempted to make exceptions for and say, well, the average Twitter post is basically toxic and the average gamer opinion is basically sludge, but realistically, I know that the only normal type move that a regular person could possibly learn is Belch. Poison is historically one of the best and most consistent ways to kill a person, but it often requires lengthy setups and intimate knowledge of variable outside factors to pull it off, so we're just gonna move on. Psychic is going to be a tricky one here, considering the amount and prevalence of practicing actual so-called psychics in real life. I'm not here to debate whether or not you're allowed to believe in stuff like that, but what I will say is that your average everyday person is certainly not one. Luckily, even if we only stick to Pokemon's very rigid definition of what a psychic is, you could still learn quite a few moves. By my calculations, a regular person could learn Amnesia, Calm Mind, Instruct, Meditate, maybe Trick, and most notably, Rest from the psychic type. The idea that simply resting is a psychic type action in the Pokemon world is pretty funny to me, but at the very least, it means you're activating supernatural abilities anytime you sit down after work. Not unlike its common sister type in Ground, Rock's lineup of learnable moves for a regular person depends heavily on whether or not you allow picking up and throwing rocks on the ground around you as an accessible move for our purposes here. If it does, then we can count things like Smackdown and Rock Throw, but if it doesn't, then maybe Wide Guard, if your arms are long enough. I don't know, you can throw rocks either way. Surprisingly, not unlike Fire and Ice, Steel actually has no moves that an ordinary person could learn. They all either rely on extremities that normal humans don't have, specific abilities or supernatural skills, or the ability to just make your skin as solid as steel for a second, none of which humans actually have. I wanted to say maybe Bullet Punch, but I don't think a regular guy can strike as fast as bullets. Moving on. Hey, so genuinely, on God, water was the only type that I could not quantify for this video. Just because there's so many conditions and so many different ways to interpret different moves. Like, a human obviously can't summon a giant wave of water or blow a jet stream out of their mouth the strength of a fire hose, but we can very much swim, we can very much dive underwater, we can very much use water as a tool and a weapon without needing any outside equipment. So like, do I count stuff like bubble, water gun, dive, maybe rain dance? Because people do perform rain dances, whether or not they work. I don't know, water was tricky for this video. If you want to help me with it in the comments, I'd appreciate it. So, in total, if we only count non-conditional moves that a regular human could perform with no equipment, training, or outside influence, then there are roughly 85 to 90 Pokemon moves that you, me, or any other regular Joe Schmo off the streets could learn if they somehow entered the Pokemon world. Of these, the vast majority are normal type attacks, physical and status specifically, with Dark, Fighting, Fairy, Ghost, and Psychic pulling up the rear. On the flip side, Fire, Ice, and surprisingly Steel are completely off limits to a regular person, whereas types like Grass, Water, Rock, and Ground depend heavily on what you're actually allowing and counting in the discussion. All in all, a regular person might fare just fine in the Pokemon world. Or you might just get eaten by a Gyarados, I don't know. If you enjoyed this video, why not comment with 4 moves that you would personally learn out of what I described today? Mine would personally be Body Slam, Rest, Yawn, and Crunch for coverage. Also, let me know how you would build the most competitively viable human using this move list. Either way, thanks, hope y'all had a fantastic day before, during, and after watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Cheers!